Hey folks, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as a thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, be sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating. Okay, folks, I'm sure many of you saw this news, and it's the big news of the day. Michael Saylor's strategy, their preferred stock, STRC, is having some huge problems. It depegged from the $100 value, which it's supposed to maintain, and that has a lot of people concerned. And this is giving me Terra Luna vibes with the depeg. And it looks like Saylor's panicking a bit. A lot of people who are STRC or MSTR holders are panicking a bit. And look, every bear market, there's some sort of collapse. We saw it in 2022 with FTX, Celsius, Terra Luna, as mentioned. And could this cycle's bear market, could this be the big collapse? And it would be maybe that final collapse that drives huge capitulation, Bitcoin bottoms, and then we keep going up high. I'm not saying I want that. I'm not saying I want strategy to collapse. So please understand me. I have been calling out Saylor and his lies, right? Calling out his hypocrisy. I actually don't care that he's selling because they're selling in the markets, right? But he's the one that's been saying for you, I'm never going to sell strategy. He's not going to sell. And then he lies and backtracks and says, I never said strategy is not going to sell, right? So complete BS on his part. But this is not looking good. And again, a lot of people are concerned here. So let me give you the details. STRC closed under $90 for the second consecutive day at $88.59, having drifted as low as $82.50. Thursday also represents one of STRC's highest volume days on record, with some 10.7 million shares exchanged. So a lot of folks are weighing in. Here's what one analyst said. STRC is still having a hard time trying to reclaim its $100 peg target, despite Saylor showing he's willing to dilute MSTR to pay out the dividends. The longer this trends lower, the higher the obligations strategy has as it hikes yield rates to try and incentivize restoring the peg. It also dissolves what was the primary cash vehicle for strategy to purchase more Bitcoin. So I believe once it went over $100 or so, they would take that and buy Bitcoin. So it's a mess. It's a mess. And like I said, this could be the black swan event that drives Bitcoin to the ultimate bottom for this cycle. And that may be 50K or a little bit below that. But we will have to wait and see. And here, someone made a meme off of what Saylor recently said when he lied. They took a photo of Saylor in that video and put it on the STRC chart, which is dumping, of course, and added the quote, I never said I would keep STRC pegged at $100. I said you should keep STRC pegged at $100. So Saylor's getting it, and rightfully so. If you're going to lie, this is what's going to happen. And it's all on the internet. That's why I said when the man was on video lying, I said, does he not realize the internet exists? But this is where you get those con man vibes, and it worries me. And again, I don't want it to collapse. I hope that it can make it through this because I'm trying to make more money here, right? I hold Bitcoin. I hold other crypto assets. We know the market moves with Bitcoin. So we don't want to see anything detrimental happening here with Bitcoin. And look, if we look at the charts for Bitcoin, Bitcoin right now it has pulled back. It's just below $63,000. On the daily chart, bulls are still in control, but their momentum is starting to slow here. So we need some sort of reversal, and hopefully everything pans out well here for us. On the weekly, I talked about the bullish divergence is forming, but that's on the higher time frame. And the bulls are barely hanging on by a thread as it relates to the MACD. So their momentum is really fading. So we need some sort of reversal soon. And I don't know what's going to be the catalyst or what's going to happen. And hopefully nothing worse happens with Saylor and strategy and STRC. But man, this STRC crap is very Ponzi like. And with this depeg, it's not looking good. So we got to be cautious here. Again, this is not the death of Bitcoin or the death of crypto. You're going to see a lot of folks come out. It's every cycle. We see something like this happen, right? Where some of these guys who become over levered and they get too greedy, this is what happens. And in a recent crypto water cooler episode that I do with Amanda Withcroft, I mentioned that I think Saylor is creating 2008 again with what he's doing here. On one hand, you have SpaceX. They took some of their cash reserves, they added Bitcoin to their balance sheet. They just went public. Guess what? They didn't raise obscene amounts of debt to do that. They just simply took some of their cash reserves. They already have cash flow from other things, obviously. Saylor, he got too greedy and he went and raised obscene amounts of debt. I don't even know if MicroStrategy actually sells any products or does any business anymore, or they just buy Bitcoin and make money off the arbitrage, with the stock price and much more. It's really crazy, man. But we'll see how this all plays out, and just something to keep an eye on. Don't be surprised. Again, I'm not calling for it, but don't be surprised if there's some major collapse here, and this is the final capitulation event for this bear market, and then we bottom out. We will see how it all pans out. Moving ahead, Capital B shareholders approve up to $120 billion in financing capacity for Bitcoin strategy. Now, there are other Bitcoin treasury companies out there. The majority are not as levered up as Saylor. So France listed Bitcoin treasury company Capital B's shareholders approve authorizations allowing the company to raise up to 105 billion euros or $120.4 billion to fund future Bitcoin purchases. Over 95% of shareholders approved the establishment of up to 5 billion euros in capital increases, equivalent to as many as 125 billion new shares at the current nominal value, as well as the issuance of up to 100 billion euros in credit instruments, Capital B announced on Wednesday. The company said the issuance of the new capital instruments will accelerate its Bitcoin accumulation strategy, focused on increasing the number of Bitcoin per fully diluted share over time. So let's see how this all plays out, guys. Now, a quick word from our sponsor, a great place where you can buy the dip, folks. I've been buying the dip because we're in that bottom zone. I'm buying Bitcoin and certain altcoins. Well, you can do that on iTrust Capital. And iTrust Capital allows you to invest in crypto as well as precious metals like gold and silver via an IRA. Now, you may say, why do I want to do it via an IRA? Well, you get huge tax benefits. Because you're in that IRA, when you sell, whether it's long-term or short-term capital gains, you don't have to pay that. So you're sheltered from those taxes. So that's the huge advantage. And if you have a long-term view on these assets, this is a great option. And you may have a dual strategy. Some of your crypto investments that you want to go in and out of in the short term, you do it on a regular exchange, and then you have an iTrust Capital account for the long term, again, to get shelter from those taxes. And you get exposure to not only crypto, but precious metals. Gold and silver obviously did really well over the past couple of years. And soon iTrust is going to add stocks as well. So you can have all these assets running in this tax sheltered environment. And it's low cost, no monthly fee. You can buy and sell 24/7. And if you have an existing 401k or IRA, you can simply roll it over to iTrust Capital's version. Now, they also have a great custody solution called Premium Custody Account. They use Coinbase Prime, which BlackRock uses. So you're getting institutional grade crypto custody, folks. So this is a great option. So you can sleep at night knowing your assets are safe. You can buy and sell within the account 24/7. It's a closed loop system. So if someone hacks into your account, they can't withdraw your funds. And by the way, with regards to the gold and silver option, it is fully redeemable. So this is not paper gold or silver like many platforms offer. It's the physical assets, and it's actually custodied at a bank. So if you want to ever redeem those assets, you can. So it's a unique feature here by iTrust Capital. And folks, I have an account with them, and if you sign up with my link, you can get a $100 funding bonus. So you got to check them out, see if it's for you. Go to itrustcapital.com/go/thinkingcrypto. All the links will be in the description. Now, folks, the deadline is approaching for the Clarity Act. Well, the deadline set by Patrick Witt of the White House. He put July 4th as his target date, but we know the hard date is a little bit beyond that, towards the end of July, as before Congress goes out on August recess. So we have to get this done because it's a midterm election year. You're not going to get anything done in September, October, November. There's going to be a lot of focus on politics and these elections, right, folks? Y'all know how the game is played. So we got an update here from Punchbowl News. Here are the details. There will be a sprint of meetings next week to finalize key details for the Clarity Act. The Senate has put significant pressure on the talks as the August recess approaches. Folks, I hope they can get this done. We are past the middle of June, and that gives us what, 3 weeks until July 4th. So I don't know. And again, I don't know. It doesn't necessarily have to happen on July 4th. It just has to happen before the August recess, man. But we got to get this done or it's going to be a mess. The banks are fighting. So let's see what we can get done this week. I'm going to try to get many folks on the podcast over the next couple of weeks who are working with advocacy groups and in DC so we can get updates on this because we're running out of time and we need this. The market needs this as a catalyst to get things going. Now, we have some interesting news coming out of the Federal Reserve and Treasury. So, U.S. agencies seek stablecoin customer ID rules akin to banks in new Genius Act pitch. So, this is interesting. The Federal Reserve, the Treasury Department, and other financial regulators are pushing a new stablecoin rule that treats issuers like other regulated financial firms when it comes to identifying their users, releasing their draft of the proposed rule on Thursday. This effort marks the latest step in implementing last year's guiding and establishing national innovation for U.S. stablecoins called the Genius Act, the first major crypto law that puts a key aspect of the industry on the map of the United States financial regulation. Like more traditional financial firms, such as banks and brokerages, U.S. stablecoin issuers must meet the demand of the Bank Secrecy Act and maintain a system of verification for customers' identities, which is meant to combat money laundering, illicit finance, and terrorism financing. These standards, according to the rule proposal, must include reasonable procedures for one, verifying the identity of any person seeking to open an account to the extent reasonable and practicable. Two, maintaining records of the information used to verify a person's identity, including name, address, and other identifying information. And three, determining whether the person appears on any list of known or suspected terrorists or terrorist organizations provided to the financial institution by any government agency. Now, folks, obviously they're going to do KYC AML. That's pretty much what this is. But what we got to watch out for is, are they trampling our rights, our privacy? And if they want to get information, they need to get a warrant. Now, many of you may have caught my recent interview with former CFTC Chairman Chris Giancarlo, where he said there's no privacy on stablecoins. And many people are worried about the boogeyman of CBDCs, but stablecoins are CBDCs in a sense that it's the same setup, right? So I really appreciate his point of view, and I think he's right. So this is where we have to continue to monitor and see what they're going to do here. But look, they're going to do KYC AML. We knew it was coming. There's no way around it. So we're going to have to continue to monitor this closely. All right, continuing on the theme of crypto legislation, Malta proposes DeFi rulebook covering DAOs under the MICA era framework. So we are seeing across the globe, many different countries and jurisdictions are embracing crypto, putting the guardrails in place. And we know the EU was certainly ahead of the United States in passing their version of the Clarity Act. It's an ongoing process of fine-tuning that legislation. So we're continuing to see dialogue and recommendations and more. So Malta's financial regulator has issued a discussion paper outlining a potential legal framework for decentralized finance, including recognition of decentralized autonomous organizations, also known as DAOs, as European policymakers continue to grapple with how to regulate blockchain-based financial services. On June 12th, the Malta Financial Services Authority opened a public consultation on DeFi. Under the MiCA regulation, the paper invites industry feedback through July 10th and proposes a new legal category for so-called software-based organizations, which would encompass DAOs and other software-governed DeFi entities. Rather than treating DAOs as a standalone legal concept, the MFSA suggests recognizing them as a type of software-based organization, separating the legal framework governing the organization itself from the rules governing the underlying protocol and software. So on its face, this looks pretty good. Now, I haven't gone through all the details. I'm going to have to bring some experts on the podcast to, do that. People who do this on a day-to-day basis, like the folks at the DeFi Education Fund and others. But great to see across the globe, again, folks, the embrace of crypto. Everybody's on board here. And here's another example. Ireland mulls crypto safeguards in response to financial risks. So again, they're putting the guardrails in place. The government of Ireland is taking aim at digital assets used in money laundering and terrorism financing as it moves to implement industry standards relating to the acceptance of crypto-related activities as a source of funds by the second half of 2027 as part of its policy priorities. Now, they're not banning anything. They're just putting KYC, AML, putting in all the guardrails in place that will allow the industry to grow. So I've been saying, look, at Davos, the IMF, the BIS, they all get their marching orders, and some countries may be slower than others, but it's coming. It's coming. The token economy, the markets, the governments, the economy is all running on blockchain rails. Final news item, Algorand unveils roadmap to achieve quantum resistance by 2028. The announcement reflects crypto's growing recognition that adopting quantum resistant cryptography could take years, requiring changes not only to user wallets but also to core protocol infrastructure. So folks, we're seeing a plethora of blockchain projects all getting their quantum resistance strategy in place. They better, because quantum is going to get more sophisticated, more prominent, and if they don't, it's, their blockchains are going to be at risk. So it's great to see all these projects doing this. I recently interviewed the head of engineering at RippleX, Ayo Akinyili. Obviously, they're working on the XRP ledger. They're also doing this, right? I also interviewed Danelle Dixon of the Stellar Development Foundation. They're also doing the same thing. So all these blockchains getting on board. And if they're not, you better find out why they're not, because this is going to be a threat. It's not a threat right now, but they got to prepare for it. Folks, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It's on Substack, 100% free. Check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. Grab a copy. And if you want to expand your knowledge about crypto, check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. This course is comprehensive. It teaches you everything you need to know. And best of all, it features expert commentary. No other crypto course out there offers this. And right now we got a huge sale. Get 50% off the price of the course by using the code BEAR, BEAR at checkout. So go to mycryptocourse.com to learn more and get that huge discount. All the links will be in the description. Thank you so much for tuning in, folks. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.